Good morning, Thunder fans. It is Monday, March 31st, and your Oklahoma City Thunder are sitting at a record of 62-12, first in the Western Conference. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. Today, we're launching a damn podcast. Why really? Look, simply put, I just miss talking about this team on the internet. We'll get into that later, but first, I'd like to welcome my good friend and longtime podcast partner, Jamison Maxwell, on. Jamison, welcome to the show. And, you know what they say. The best time to launch a sports podcast is 8 games before the season ends, right?
We're just a bunch of fair weather fans hopping on the bandwagon, and now that the Thunder are doing a lot better and have the best odds, or mostly sportsbooks have them as the best odds to win the championship, that's the time to hop on, right? That's the only reason we're doing it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, clearly, yeah. Zero, experience in the past. It's not like you and I covered a horrible basketball team for a different network back in the day. No, this is out of a labor of love, and I know the timing might seem weird and fishy, but we just miss talking about the NBA, miss talking about the Thunder, and the time's right, and we're back at it. So look, this has been by far one of the best seasons in Thunder history. It's been incredible. Like, you and I have both been watching OKC forever. And look, the Thunder have been deeply ingrained in the fabric of our lives since day one, since the team moved to Oklahoma City that summer. And I got to ask you, what has it been like watching this team? How special has this season been?
I feel like we take it for granted, and I feel a lot of Thunder media does a really good job of bringing in stats, comparing it to past seasons. And we're at the point right now where this is going to be, by the win-loss record, the best Thunder team of all time. And even though ESPN puts up graphics with James Harden in it as the other team, which is pitiful, but on brand, we're trying. But at the same time, amongst all of this, we're still really taking it for granted of how good this team is and how easy it is for, no matter who's on the court, no matter what the injury, we go out and we win basketball games at a high level. You see it with the fun Portland Trailblazers games where you get Aaron Wiggins 30, 40-point games. You see games where Chet's the only star. You see games where we don't have J-Dub with a hip injury. The whole team's got hip injuries. It's not been a smooth season, but this team has made it look smooth.
Yeah, and I think that's the point we take for granted more than anything, is this is a team that, they're not going to hit 70 probably, but they hypothetically very well could. They could. It's within reach. I think they're, if they played, everybody, every game through the rest of the way, I think they could get to 70. They could. They probably won't. But the fact that you're having that conversation when you talk about how much time Hartenstein missed at the start of the season, Chet missing, 3 months with a broken hip, and, the fact that they're not only number one in the West, but a very difficult West with the margin they're at, it's unbelievable. And I don't think enough people, honestly, are giving them credit for how they've sustained it. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, they're good, but how good, I think we haven't really kind of seen yet, because as we all know, teams are measured in the postseason, not the regular season. But damn, this is an unbelievable regular season team. 48 double-digit wins. They're nearing breaking the record set by the 96 Bulls. Historic PER, almost toppling the Bulls there. They're getting really close. It's one of those things that you just sit back and marvel at how good this team has gotten in such a short time.
And I think what it comes down to is there's always going to be haters, including within your fan base and out of your fan base, of any kind of change in sports. We saw it with the Boston Celtics a couple of years ago. Jason Tatum did not get nearly enough respect that he needed, and he wins a championship. The vibes completely change. Understandably, a championship will change the language. But right now, we need to celebrate how good this team is in the regular season, how good this team is defensively, and, amongst a non-consistent, roster in terms of injuries, it's been absolutely amazing, and we shouldn't be already punishing this team of, I don't think that they're going to do well in the playoff because X, Y, Z, or they haven't done well in the playoff yet. Can we just not just take that and leave that for another time, leave that for April, May, and June, and say it is March right now, the end of March, and this Thunder team in the regular season has been this good, and let's leave that for the future, because this is amazing what we're doing now, and let them prove that when the time comes.
Yeah, and I know, like, the regular season does matter. Like, you play the games for a reason, and, I think some non-Thunder fans might knock them and be like, oh, they're trying too hard, and, that level of effort, is the reason why they're winning. So what? So what? If every
Calling us a tryhard, sorry for winning basketball games and gonna lock up possibly the number one seed and get home court throughout the playoffs.
That's what sports are for. Yeah, it's like, what are we doing?
But we're not the Lakers who play horrible every other night, and then the night that ESPN has them, there's a cool no-look pass from Luka, and everyone thinks that they're amazing.
Yeah, it's like that highlight is on the front of ESPN, and they just completely ignore the fact that they lost, stuff like that. But no, I think this team is, it's naturally everyone, like, even the Warriors, I feel like before they won their championship, people doubted them and questioned them. And hell, I think they questioned them a little bit after they won it.
Oh yeah,
because of the Cavs injuries. Yeah,
that too, and like it was a transition in sports where jump shooting was not a sustainable way to win basketball, and now the NBA is you shoot threes, and if you aren't, you are not catching up. 33% of threes is just as good as 50% of twos.
Yeah, and in some ways, the team last year, what I would say might have been a little too reliant on hot shooting. It cooled off in the postseason, and, I think that kind of was one of the reasons why they lost. But overall, like, I think this team plays sustainable basketball because defense travels. Like, defense, regardless of if it's the regular season or, the postseason playoffs, all of that, that is what's going to be great. And when you have these debates of, oh, well, just wait for Shea's whistle to dry up in the postseason, they're going to start calling games tougher. That's going to help the Thunder so much if you call it both ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not worried about that. Defense will be the thing that stays consistent throughout anything in a basketball game. Offense goes up and down and evens out through the average of an 82-game season, but maybe not the same in a 7-game series. Defense doesn't do that. Defense will always be there, and it's going to be even more solid and even better whenever you have your 5 best defenders on the court at all times, and whenever you keep Caruso, Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren, and Lou Dort all healthy and not in and out of the lineup. And we know coming towards the playoffs, we probably have been a little bit lax in terms of keeping guys in or out of the lineup based off their injuries because of our record and how well we do whenever we don't have them. That's how much depth we have on this team, and we can do that. Other teams do not have that capability.
Yeah, and the depth is is clearly one of the biggest things the Thunder have going for them. And the fact that everyone's a good defender. There aren't holes like there were last year where you can go at Giddey. You can go, you can't go at anyone. You can't hunt Shea because he can stop you. He's not the best defender head to head, but he's damn good. I mean, he's got depoy odds, which is nuts. But it's just there is nowhere offensively you can go. It's relentless and truly just an embarrassment of riches with what you've got on the wings. With Caruso, with Case and Wallace, with Dort, and it's special. I don't see a lot of teams being able to score on the Thunder once we hit the postseason.
Yeah, we're going to turn up the intensity, and what makes this defense so special is how much effort, rotation, and putting your hand on the ball in the passing lanes. In the playoffs, your intensity is going to notch up even more than what we play with. So it's going to be even crazier and even a lot more fun as a Thunder fan to watch these guys flying around the court, having good rotation, and putting teams in hell.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of what has taken that defense from one level to the other, obviously the Caruso addition, but I feel like Jalen Williams, what he has done on the defensive end isn't talked about nearly enough.
Oh my God, I've been screaming this for the whole season. It seems like you've been listening to me in our group chats together.
Yes. Oh yeah, exactly. It's almost like we know each other or something. And I because I think the naturally, NBA discourse always trends towards the offense, with the stats and all of that. And maybe you look at J-Dub and you're like, well, I don't think he's a true second scorer. He's dipped a little bit offensively. But what he's brought defensively has not only made up for it, it's made him even better as a player. I think I saw something where he's the best at the rim defender, non-big at the rim defender in the league, which is crazy.
We've got some really good at the rim defenders in terms of the statistical, like what's your percentages. Like Chet's is like what, 52, 53%, which is ridiculous. I think I heard on Down to Dunk last week. And it's really shows of the teams that play us are not comfortable. At the rim percentage is a little bit about defense and who's there. Most of it is I'm scared and I'm out of my comfort zone and I can't go in my normal rhythm to go up and make a shot that should be routine. People are scared to go up versus Chet. People are scared to go up versus iHeart. And people are extremely uncomfortable when J-Dub guards them. Like you said, Bobby, put more respect on his defensive nature. I feel like a lot of people gave that to him whenever he was being a versatile defender guarding centers, whenever we had no centers at the beginning of the year with, all three of our centers being hurt. But also give him that respect towards fours that he's guarding, some maybe bigger threes. This guy is incredible at getting his hand in the cookie jar and stealing and putting people in really uncomfortable positions. His game is so well-rounded, and having that as a number 2 guy on a team, and you could even say 2A or 2B with how this team is set up, that is so valuable to have a guy like that whenever you put him next to a guy like Shea.
Yeah. I mean, without a doubt. And, I don't want to call it a silver lining, because anytime, you never want injuries to happen, especially what, Chet dealt with, and, specifically Chet. But J-Dub's time where he had to be a 5, I think really kind of helped him kind of harness that skill of being able to guard bigger positions. And he is truly, one of the most versatile defenders, on the team. And I mean, that actually might be a little bit crazy, because everybody's versatile. Caruso's versatile. Case in Loss, Lou Dort he could guard 1 through 5. He's probably the most versatile defender in the league. But adding another guy like that to it, where I don't think J-Dub was a liability on defense ever, but he wasn't this. And that's truly what's taken his game up to a different level. You mentioned 2A, 2B with J-Dub, and, he's the second all-star. But I think Chet Holmgren, to me, if he didn't get hurt, he would have been an all-star. We would have been talking about
easy
his career entirely differently.
He's the decoy this year, no doubt, either.
Yeah.
He'd be one of the top 15 players in the league if he wouldn't get hurt.
Right. We'd be talking about him in the superstar category, I believe. How have you, what are your thoughts on Chet since his return to injury, or from injury? Obviously still lingering a little bit with the hip, but I don't know, where do you stand on Chet? How, like, in terms of his performance, and, do you how much better do you think he can get as time goes on?
I think there is a lot bigger ceiling here when it comes down to Chet and the way that he's playing this season in terms of what he can be, because I feel like we've been experimenting a lot with our lineups, which is a Mark Daignault special of, putting out a bunch of different things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. And another thing, I hate to kind of veer off your question, but I just want to make this point, is whenever we have a bunch of different lineups with different Chet combinations, there might be good ones that we haven't really done. People say like, oh, that's just experimenting to see what's going to be good in the playoffs. Also, at the same time, there's not going to be a lot of tape of, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, Alex Caruso, J-Dub, Shea, because we use so many different lineups to where some of these things we're going to put out there, people are not going to be scouting that as well, and it's going to give us a lot more opportunity to hit them at their weaknesses whenever they aren't prepared well. But back to your question, Chet Holmgren and the way he is, I feel like there's so much more that he can put in his game. If you put him more in the middle, and we're using him more on the outside right now, we can even utilize him more as a big man interior stopper. But we're seeing how he does as kind of an outside, roam the lane a little bit with Isaiah out there. At the same time, his mid-range game, I feel like something that could be really, really good eventually, and I know he's working on it because I can see some things he does when he gets the ball down there, that where you can say, I know he's working on that. That's whenever an offseason comes where he's fully healthy and he comes into next season and you see this dude is working on that, Dirk shot. The guy's working on that push shot in the middle that Isaiah does. He's going to capitalize his mid-range game, and that's what took Shea to the next level. That's what took J-Dub to the next level, and I bet you that's what's going to take Chet to the next level next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's been one of the things that has made the Thunder really, really good and really unique is they haven't been afraid of that mid-range. Something that completely kind of disappeared from the NBA there for a while, with the rise of analytics, three-point shooting, etc. And, that's one of the things that set the Thunder apart, without a doubt. So seeing Chet develop that and having just another mid-range threat, that's huge. One thing I have kind of noticed since his return, I feel like his three-point shooting has improved.
It is.
And he's kind of mentioned that was one of the things that he really was able to work on when, your hip's injured. You can't really do that, so you work on your shooting for him. And I think that top of the key three, it gives me Dirk vibes, to say the least.
I'm hoping, just selfishly, in the offseason, he can work on his release and his arc a little bit, because that's one thing I think is a deficiency in his game. I feel like he takes a little bit too slow to get his shot off sometimes, where he gets it blocked, and that shouldn't be happening for a 7'1" center. And also it seems like it's a little flat, so it worries me at the end of the game whenever he starts to play, in the playoffs. We're having games every 48 hours, and he's playing closer to 30 minutes rather than taking as much time off whenever his legs start to get tired. That's what stuff that worries me coming into the playoffs. But I feel like with the way our shooting has evolved so much with Chip England at the helm, we see so much development from our guys as shooters. I feel like a lot of people have been talking about, the J. Will 3-pointers recently have been unbelievable as percentage, but also his mechanics has changed a lot. Isaiah Joe, his mechanics, the way he's coming off screens, his shot off the bounce is completely changed as well. You've just got to expect the way that Chet's going to shoot is going to evolve and get even better in the mechanics itself.
Yeah, no doubt. That Chip England hire, genuinely one of the best moves the Thunder have ever done.
And even if it's not him, it's providing confidence. Because whenever you have a guy who comes in and says, I've done this, I've done that, hey, this is what we're going to do to make you better. I don't care if it's actually good work, Bobby. He could be doing really good things, and that's why it is. But at the same time, shooting's confidence, and if it's a guy that you're working under his tutelage and he's giving you the tools on how to succeed and you believe it, he's got a lot of ethos, and that's really all you need.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the confidence aspect, looping that back to J. Will, he had a comment recently where they were talking about that being like a massive thing that shifted for him. He was not a good, he noted he was not a good 3-point shooter at Arkansas. He shot some 25%. He was not a shooter. That was an aspect of his game that has been added in the NBA in Oklahoma City, and has really he's not the biggest center by any means. He's only 6'8", something like that, 6'9". But that shooting is something that will keep him in the league going forward. That is something that makes him completely invaluable, as a 4, as a 5. So that's been huge. Speaking of bigs, look, we've talked about J. Will, talked about Chet. Let's talk about Isaiah Hartenstein. And I mean, his impact has been just massive. This team is not where it is if you don't have Hartenstein, especially after the Holmgren injury. But naturally, one of the biggest questions about it has been, do you go with the double big lineup or do you not? And when it first kind of started out, looked a little ugly, took a little bit of time to get there, but I don't know. I think as time's got on, it's gotten a bit better. Jamison, what are your thoughts on the double big?
I think the way we look about the double big and is it going to work and all of this in the setting of the offense, I think I have the mindset of I'm kind of trying to throw that into the trash. I think in the offseason, I was concerned about bringing a big and adding more size into this team because we knew that Chet at the 5 worked, and our small ball was one of the best lineups in the NBA. Why should we add a traditional center? The argument for it now, and what I've seen is, it doesn't matter what the lineup is. It matters, are the 5 guys on the basketball court, are they high IQ players that can go out there, facilitate, and find the right spot on the court to score? Isaiah Hartenstein's one of the highest IQ players in the league, and I'd say he's honestly, screw it. I think he's the second highest IQ on our team behind Shea.
Wow. And
Yeah.
it's hard to disagree with that. When you look at how it's the passing to me that takes it to a different level. Mm-hmm. And I hand up, I did not know Hartenstein was a passer like that before he even played.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you and I, in our little group text, we were some of the staunchest defenders of Chet at the 5, and we don't need another big. And,
Yeah.
Hartenstein would be nice, but it would be a luxury. He has been so refreshing to me. The way he moves, he doesn't move like, like a Kendrick Perkins, like a stiff. And I think the movement, his ability to make shots with that little, kind of little push, float, whatever.
Michael Cage is going to get you. Which one is it? Is it a floater or a push shot? He's going to get you. You got to tell him. Is it a teardrop? Michael Cage is going to put a quiz on you.
Oh yeah, which hopefully Michael Cage is not watching episode 1 of this podcast. Otherwise I might have to come up with an answer. But no, it's really genuinely, such a huge offensive point of his game, and offensively you couldn't be happier. Maybe you'd hope he doesn't go. He's not 0 for 17 from 3, but.
I like that.
In general.
Keep on shooting, buddy. You're going to get one.
I'm telling he's going to get one in like a very crucial moment in the playoffs. I'm calling it right now. It's going to happen. It's going to be hilarious.
I don't know in a crucial moment, but is this going to be game 3 or game 4 and we're up 3-0 and it's like the first quarter and he hits one and then things go ballistic after that? Now that's the scenario I could see.
I'm manifesting it right now. The Isaiah Hartenstein, his first 3 is going to be akin to the Kendrick Perkins dunk against the Spurs. That's going to be the moment that like seals something massive. It's going to be just random Hartenstein 3.
I don't want that to happen. I do not want that to happen.
You don't want that. You don't want the Hartenstein dagger.
If he misses that, Bobby, we already know how Oklahoma fans are in general. My God, that's going to change the opinion in a heartbeat. I just talked about his high IQ, and this dude's taking a 3 in the fourth quarter. Oh my God, please.
It's the one thing that might be a little low IQ.
Low IQ, but if it works, it could just might work. What's the quote from where it's like, everyone else it doesn't work for me, but from Arrested Development, but for me. Yeah,
these people delude themselves into thinking it might work, but for us, I think it never works. Yeah, that's Hartenstein and 3-point shooting, but so maybe we don't need him to hit one because it'll encourage him a little bit more. But overall, I do like the double big. I think it works because of the way he is as a crafty center, and the big to big lobs always make me happy. I always love seeing him and Chet throwing lobs to each other. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. I think if you just put high IQ guys on the court, doesn't matter what their makeup is, they're going to make it work. Chet is going to make it work at the 5 if he played in this season without Hartenstein, because he's a high IQ guy and he's extremely talented at what he does. Isaiah Hartenstein's going to do well at the 5 with Chet at the 4 because they're both high IQ guys. I think that the way that this team is set up with Mark Daigneault, who's one of the best coaches in the NBA, and the way he puts out his lineups and the way that he puts people to succeed with their strengths, I think that's where you've got to be really excited. And the way that Isaiah Hartenstein plays defense is the reason why you make yourself feel good, even better moving forward, because we really focused on this offseason, Bobby, to make sure that we couldn't get picked on any scenario on either offense or defense. Josh Giddey was an easy target on defense that people would switch things and get their best. Luka would be going after Josh Giddey, and it would be a struggle because we had 4 exceptional defenders on the floor and 1 moderate defender. Now that's not the case anymore. On defense versus a big man, I think Chet did decent whenever he played against thicker guys like Joel Embiid and Joker, but he's not as good as some of the other centers in the league. We don't have that worry anymore. Is there a weakness that someone's going to pick on? Obviously, we're not a perfect team, but if you look at this team, what is the weakness that people are going to pick on and try to, play playoff basketball versus us? I don't really see it, and I think the teams that have done it in the regular season, the biggest thing is leaving Lou Dort open for 3, and he's like a 40% three-point shooter. So that's just not been good basketball planning, and I think a lot of teams are going to have to do a lot of innovative thinking coming into the playoffs of what way can we utilize our strengths to put Thunder's weaknesses out there and expose them, and there's just not going to be a lot of weaknesses to expose.
Yeah, I don't think there are a lot of weaknesses. I know what a lot of people have pointed to when it works, which is the key caveat when it works, is zone defense has proven to be effective at times.
And it's not even right.
That's what I was getting at, is it works. When it works, it looks great. When the Thunder are missing shots uncharacteristically, it looks great. But when they're draining open threes, it's, it doesn't work. You just have to get lucky. It's essentially play zone and pray.
Yeah, it's just because it's something different than out of the normal. And then there's a couple of stints that maybe the Thunder didn't do well, and people anchor on that. But if you look at the advanced stats, it's not anything significantly different in terms of the zone versus the man. So I think that's just bad documentation from journalists.
Right.
Now, I think what actually works from the eye test is blitzing Shea after he crosses half court. Now, that is the one thing as a Thunder fan going into the playoffs that I know that the Thunder have worked on because we've already seen it a couple times. And Mark, once he sees it once, he gives you a plan. He's probably not going to show it to any teams moving forward. The blitzing thing is one thing that I can see visibly in the body language of Shea makes him uncomfortable. And whenever you take something away from your best player, it worries me. That's the thing I'm most worried about the most, of how we're going to react to blitzing him when he crosses half court.
Yeah, it proved to be pretty effective for Sacramento a couple weeks, or I think last week, actually. Specifically in that first quarter, I think Shea had some 6 some odd turnovers in a quarter, which is beyond uncharacteristic. He averages 1.5 per game. So I think that is something to sort of circle. I think it is notable that worked best in a game that didn't feature Jalen Williams. And I would say as well, if the Thunder are in a position where they do not have a shot creator, a guy who can create their own shot, it might get a little dicey. But I feel like at that point you're missing a Jalen Williams, someone like that. You get into injuries because at full health, full strength, this is a team that can play with lineups that can emphasize your shot creators like a J-Dub. Getting an AJ Mitchell back would be huge. I don't think he could be very effective with the amount of time he missed.
I don't
That's
know
the biggest
how
question.
much we're going to play him. I think the way that Kaysen can blow by people and did that little scoop, that jumping off and extending the hand layup. I wish that this was a video product you could see. It's like the Shea move where you jump and you extend your arm all the way and it takes away the shot blocker. And if you're athletic enough and you're long enough and you have a good enough wingspan, which he does, he's mastered that in the second half of the season. I feel like that's something you'll see a lot of whenever Shea dumps it off the double team.
Yeah. And I think that's Kaysen Wallace has been good with that. Aaron Wiggins, of course, also very good with that. We we haven't mentioned Aaron Wiggins' name once this podcast. I don't know. Have you been? Do you buy his improvement? Do you think he can keep this production going in the postseason?
Of course. How do I not buy this improvement? Is there an answer that's no? This dude's scoring 40 and 30 points. And what it comes down to, and I really hit on this a lot whenever I talk about basketball and basketball players, these guys are the cream of the crop. And whenever you add confidence into guys that have that ability, it pushes them up to another level. Aaron Wiggins' confidence level continues to get higher and higher and higher whenever you have him as the premier guy in these lineups where he comes out and we're resting our starters and he can be scoring against top-tier defenders from the other team. You start to think hey, this guy could be one of the better, bench scorers in the league. And his confidence, you can see, is going up. This guy's taking contested threes. He's not taking those wide open corner threes like he did in the past season. We said Aaron Wiggins, he would shoot a couple threes a game. He was shooting at high 40% from three, and that's amazing. Now he's shooting at a high volume. His percentage went down, but he's shooting at a high volume. He's driving, he's making difficult layups, and he's doing spin around mid-range jumpers. This guy's got a well-balanced 3-level game, and he's shooting it at a high clip. That's what you got to buy in. He believes in himself, and that's going to be huge for us, coming to the season. To the postseason, wherever you need guys to have the Aaron Wiggins game, the Jalen Williams game. We're going to have an Aaron Wiggins game in the playoffs. Yeah,
and I think people forget about, the first Aaron Wiggins game we kind of had in the playoffs against the Mavericks last year. Game 1, he was excellent. He can do it. And I think we have so much of revisionist history about that series. I feel like other people have mentioned this in the past, but when you look, I think a lot of people think that OKC laid an egg last year, and it wasn't a great performance by any means. He lost the series, but it was down to the wire, lost in 6, almost had a game 7 back at home, and you had to navigate some pretty tough truths about your team. Being, Josh Giddey isn't a starter. You got to bench him. So I feel like those sort of things get lost where you think about, people didn't step up. They did, just not to the frequency they did in the regular season.
Mm-hmm. And this team isn't the same as last season. And it's okay to criticize that team for losing in the second round as a 1 seed. It's completely okay. But at the same time, you can also say the counter argument that it was a very, very close matchup, that if a couple shots went other ways, they could be going to game 7, and who knows what have changed there. So I think both arguments are okay. I get frustrated too, Bobby, whenever I hear people say, that they laid an egg. In reality of it, a number 1 seed shouldn't be losing to a 4/5 seed.
And I will say, comparing that 1 seed to this one, I think it's easy to kind of forget.
It's so different.
The Thunder essentially were tied for the 1 seed and only got it because of a Spurs win over the Nuggets where they had no Wemby, and I'm pretty sure Mamu was out there with the closing lineup. So it's one of those things, like, it's a little bit different to win it on the last day than have a 13.5, lead on number 2. With 8 games remaining in the season. And I think the fact that we cleared so many deficiencies, including Giddey, and I want to talk about that because we're recording this on Sunday. This is releasing Monday night, so the Bulls are playing in OKC. Josh Giddey's return, and he's put up some insane numbers. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm happy for him. But I think it's still clear to me that was a good trade for the Thunder. I think it's a much more mutually beneficial trade now, but I don't know. Where do you land on that, Jamison?
This dude was putting up big numbers on the Thunder, too. Like, this isn't different. We've seen this from Josh Giddey. When he's hitting 3-point shots, he can put up 20-point triple-doubles. People in the NBA are talking like we've never seen this before, and he's developed into this guy that we didn't have on the Thunder. He did this here. I don't get it. We didn't need that any longer here within the role of this team. We have Alex Caruso, who's always been a guy that doesn't show up in the box score. And Chicago Bulls fans, for looking at box score, comparing Alex Caruso to Josh Giddey, is unbelievably unintelligent because Alex Caruso's never been a box score guy. And
they should know it. He was on your team.
I'm happy. No, this is good, Bobby. We can get mad because we always want to be the winner. We think Sam Presti is this genius and he never loses a trade. If the NBA wants to think that Sam Presti is losing trades, that's good because there's going to be a lot of people out there that can say, I'm tired of letting Sam Presti win. I'm not going to trade with him. And people are going to get hard-headed. If they want to say that Sam Presti lost his trade, good. Good. Because we're going to need it because we're going to need to make a lot of trades with our draft picks moving forward. And I don't want as many hard heads.
Yeah. No, and I think if you look at those trades that feel like, outside of the SGA Paul George one, which I feel like that was a fleet. Well, even that one flipped in a way. But if you look at like the Paul George trade for Oladipo and Sabonis, that was originally written off as Presti fleecing him. But there's always something there. There's always value there.
That was so mutually beneficial. That was such a good trade for both teams. Yeah.
It was a great trade for both teams. I feel like the Giddey one is the same way. Like, I think the Bulls made a really smart move buying low on Giddey, and he's gotten back to the Josh Giddey we've seen before, obviously his unfortunate controversy last year, which clearly did a number on him mentally, and he just wasn't the same player. But also I feel like as a fit basketball-wise, we've always known it. He's at his best with the ball in his hands. And when you have SGA, one of the best players in the league, going to win MVP this year, you want the ball in his hands. So it made sense. I think, without a doubt, like both parties should be happy with it. Yeah. If you're the Bulls, maybe you wish you got a pick out of it.
No surprise that he's starting to peak after the Zach LaVine trade. That's very, very well expected. You give him volume, he's going to put out volume. That's the kind of player that he is.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, let's kind of wrap this portion up really quick. And look, we've talked about a lot of players. We have not talked about SGA really a ton. Maybe a little bit about how, him getting rushed and everything, but he just keeps making leaps, and we're at a point where, he's the overwhelming favorite to win MVP. Do you think he has it locked up?
No, I don't think he has it locked up, which scares me.
Ooh.
But I think locked up is a strong word. I think he's going to win it. But I still think that there's going to be a push, and there obviously is a push within the media right now that Joker deserves it. I'm tired of the debate of, look how good Joker is, he deserves it. Can we not just say Joker's good and SGA's good? Can we just not say both of them are good? Because both are great. SGA, if you polled the players in the National Basketball Association, he'd win overall. The problem is we have people who vote for this that are very unintelligent and people that don't watch enough basketball. And SGA isn't as known of a product as Joker, and it's not as easy as a product to digest whenever you look down at the numbers. A lot of the advanced analytics will point towards Shea, but whenever you see some of the ridiculous 40, 20, 20 or whatever that Joker put up, it's going to just look a lot easier. And I think that I'm scared about that. There's going to be some voters that probably don't know ball enough and pick Joker. Simple as that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one of those things where we haven't had a Bond Temps poll in a while, but, and the guys on, I can't remember what show it was, but, people, I think it was actually Thunder After Dark, but bringing up that there were voters that changed their mind after the NBA Cup final with Giannis, like flipping from Shea to Giannis because Giannis had one good game. Like, voters are fickle. They don't watch every game, and hopefully you don't get distracted by the numbers, and you like J-Dub said all season, watch the games and you vote for Shea because he is the best player on the best team. And I think while Jokic definitely would deserve that is an MVP worthy season, Shea's case, his story, all of that, like it fits more for this season's MVP than Jokic's.
Yeah,
even though Jokic is playing
of all time.
Yeah,
you got in the Thunder, and Shea as a defender is what should be the one thing that pushes it over. We said it earlier in the show. Can we start talking about defense more? Joker is a good defender. He's gotten a lot better than what he used to be. Shea is one of the best stealers in the game. I think he's second overall in the league behind Dyson Daniels.
So. Yeah,
I might have
Daniels
to double check
is insane.
if that's changed recently. Yeah, but his defense and his length and the way he blocks shot as a guard is next level. And that's 50% of the game. And some people would argue maybe 55% of the game is defense. And we're not going to talk about that at all when it comes down to the MVP conversation. We're only going to talk about offense. And that shows you how much SGA's season is so special that he's doing this great on the defensive end that we're not even going to talk about it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy.
We don't talk about defense enough in the MVP, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I think in general, I'm just so sick of it. I'm so sick of no one gives people props for defense unless we're talking about Deep Boy. This is a guy who is not a liability and is actually a monster playing the passing lanes, playing off ball on defense. Come on, guys. This is the MVP. It's simple as that.
Right. Do we even talk about defense when it comes to Depoy anyways, though? Because I feel like they're just oh, this guy's big and gets blocks. And
Draymond Green being the leader right now shows you
how stupid
things are going right now.
It's really, really dumb. I just don't understand voters with that. Because, to me, Lou Dort, the fact that Lou Dort hasn't had an first team all defense is insane in general. Mm. But his lack of consideration for Depoy is frustrating. And I know you can make an argument about on-off numbers, whatever, but it's just not.
On-off numbers are a lazy stat. So, come on now.
Yeah.
And we said it. We said it in our group chat, Bobby, that graphic that the Thunder put out, was Royce that put out, that finally put the points per game of the star players versus what they played versus the Thunder, their points per game outside of the Thunder versus the Thunder. That's the stat I've been looking for all year. And now go on that, and if someone wants to be really thorough and have more time than I do in my day, go through and look in those games where Lou and Donovan Mitchell, how many of those minutes were Lou on the same time as Donovan on the court? I bet you it'd be 90, 95%.
Yep. Yeah. And I think to me that is what embodies a great defender more than anything. Because in too many of these award conversations, one of the key talking points is the Thunder are really good, and that's why this guy should be punished. They're good because they're playing good. The team is good because of the efforts of those individuals. The defense would not be what it is without Lou Dort. The offense and everything, the team as a whole would not be what it is without Shea. That's just what it is. And I feel like too often when you discuss awards, you ding a team for being too good. And I think that's been the case with the Thunder. And it's a silly point of our discourse that I just don't understand.
Yep. No, it's just people being haters. It's as simple as that. You got to find something to hate on, and it's going to be hard to find things to hate on with the Thunder.
Yep. All right, so let's wrap this thing up. So we got 8 games left here in the season. 1 seed's completely locked up. What are you wanting to see out of this team in the final stretch, Jamison?
I don't know if this is going to answer the question you want it. I'll give you a funny answer first. I want to see more resting. I don't care about the 70 wins. I don't care about the 69 wins. I kind of just want to make sure. I'm tired of all these hips being sore. I'm tired of seeing like Isaiah Hartenstein falling on the ground and grabbing his hamstring, and I thought it snapped in half. My
That was
God,
horrifying.
every bit of
God.
me. Obviously, like I love looking at injuries and mechanisms and everything. That looked like a scary mechanism of injury. Like that did not look good. There's knee hyperextension there. I could see the hamstring giving a little pop there, and then you do not want a soft tissue injury going into April.
Right.
But
it looked like an injury we saw a billion times before and never ended up well.
Yeah, I would
Except
like
this time.
the Thunder to be in more conversations about $100,000 fines for resting their players. But the real answer is I want to continue to see more lineups, and then I don't want to see those lineups overly played that they think that they're going to have a strategic advantage in. I want the Thunder to continue to keep their cards close to the vest and know that what they know within their scouting and what they know from the season, that the data that they've accumulated, that they're going to have a good plan moving into the season. We can go and experiment. We can play weird lineups where we put Dylan Jones in the first quarter, and that'd be fine because we know we can still win games by double digits even if we do that. So
yeah,
that's a
not
conservative approach moving forward. But the reality of it is, I truly don't care if we lose the home games versus Lakers. I really, truly don't care.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and that's one of my wish list items. I hope we see the Brandon Carlson hour, in both of those Laker games. Show them nothing. Like what? Why would you give them any ounce of tape? I don't. For me, that's what I would do. Maybe you might see that as being, I don't know, a little bit of cowardice. I don't care. I just think that that's the smart move going forward, is prepare yourself for the playoffs. That goes with tape, that goes with rest, that goes with all of that. Because 70 wins, like, there's no reason to, like, don't overextend yourself. Doesn't matter.
You've hit these things either.
No, the Thunder are the organization that cares the least about these things. So they don't care. They just want to call it good. So I'm all about that. Health, rest. I think it'd be nice if we kept the one loss against the East, if we want to talk about some selfish wants.
Okay, yeah, I want to win versus Chicago.
Yeah, so beat Chicago, beat Detroit, and you would have that. I'm with you. If the Thunder go full strength against the Bulls, you don't want to lose that one. And yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't want to lose to Houston, but I think you just rest everyone for that one.
That's a game, though, that I think for pride standpoint, yeah, we don't want to lose because we hate Houston. But at the same time, that's like a one-off road stand, and we go right back home. We go home, road, home to Houston. That's a perfect game to rest. That's a lot of energy that goes into a team, Houston, that reality is probably going to be in the opposite side of the bracket from us, Bobby. And I don't want to be a hater, but I don't think I'm going to see them in the Western Conference Finals. So I'm totally cool with just taking that one easy and just putting out our, no SGA, no J-Dub, no Chet, no iHeart.
Yeah. That's a rest one. Hell, I'm okay if they stay back, but if they want to come along, they're coming along for the Papados. They're not there for they're not sticking around to play basketball. They're trying to get a little bit of It is crawfish season, so there you go. Like they're there for some crawfish. Call it good. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. All right, well, that's pretty much all we have for this opening edition of our show, Morning Thunder. So thank y'all so much for giving us a listen, giving us a chance, and putting us into your podcast mix. We hope to see you back again. Let's talk about the schedule a little bit, because this is kind of the maiden voyage of the show, and we're not going to do this every time. We're going to have a longer episode once a week, sort of this length, and then I'm going to be recapping every Thunder game, home and away. That will pop up in your feed every morning, and it'll be a little 10-minute video, just quick, get you on your way throughout your day. So really excited about that. That should be really fun. So the little daily recaps, it's gonna be great to hold you over between these bigger shows. So of course we're gonna be running this through the postseason, through the remainder of this season. We'll pop in during the off season as well. We'll get to that later, but yeah. Just stay tuned, because we'll be with you throughout the rest of this NBA season. Excited to see where it takes us. But yeah, if you enjoyed the show, rate and review us 5 stars, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe for more. I'll be back tomorrow morning to recap tonight's game against the Chicago Bulls. We'll see. That'll probably be around tomorrow morning. So anyways, have a great rest of your day. Thunder up, everybody. Takes a while to stop.